comet bigger than the dinosaur killer could destroy Earth by the year 2030. The comet being Comet Encke. The video before this one, we had the ancient records in pillars of stone in eastern Turkey, the ancient Göbekli Tepe excavation that has recently been found, that has recorded the comet impact on Earth about 13,000 years ago. Graham Hancock has written books concerning the mysteries of this and Fingerprints of the God and other gods and other books. And also we have the same date given by Plato, the ancient Greek, as being the destruction and submergence of the lost continent of Atlantis. The evidence revealed in the book shows beyond reasonable doubt that an advanced civilization that flourished during the Ice Age was destroyed in the global cataclysms, and he alleges that mankind was forced to start again as primitive, but claims there were some survivors of the advanced race known to later more primitive cultures by names such as sages, magicians, the shining ones, and the mystery teachers of heaven. And he believes they traveled the world in ships trying to keep the spark of civilization burning by teaching mathematics, astronomy, and science. This is Graham Hancock's book, Magician of the Gods, sequel to the international bestseller, Fingerprints of the Gods. Apocalypse warning. Comet bigger than dinosaur killer could destroy Earth by the year 2030. And this could be 20 miles wide. A 20-mile wide piece of huge comet could strike Earth, potentially threatening all life on Earth. And this could happen as soon as 2020. This is what a maverick archaeologist claims. John Austin's article. Graham Hancock, we all know of him. If we don't, we should hear some of his fantastic explanations. He's an archaeologist, cosmologist, scientist, and he talks about even things found on Mars, talks about the pyramids. In this case, he's talking about this huge belt of a broken up huge comet that could have been 100 kilometers wide, and that the Earth passes through this belt of debris twice a year. And it's about 19 to 20 days each time we pass this debris. And this is devastating for Earth, obviously. Former journalist Graham Hancock suggests a huge chunk of flaming rock up to 30 kilometers wide, hidden in a comet stream, in this broken up comet, which is a stream going around in the orbit that the comet would have taken, could hit Earth with devastating effects in only 13 years from now. Graham Hancock, a former East Africa correspondent for The Economist, publishes the theory in his latest book entitled Magicians of the Gods, claiming that it proved, beyond reasonable doubt, that a sophisticated civilization was all but wiped out off the face of our planet by chunks of this same comet between the years 11,600 and 12,800 years ago. And that was probably around the time of the Great Flood. In the book, he alarmingly claims his research shows Earth could again pass through this same section of the trail of that comet he calls Encke, E-N-C-K-E, containing up to a 20-mile wide monster in 2030, just 13 years from now. Graham Hancock has also been ridiculed as a pseudoscientist by mainstream archaeologists who dismiss his research of more than 20 years ago. But now a separate scientific study has backed his claim that the devastating comet may have struck Earth almost 13,000 years ago. It's now hoped that his doomsday prediction of 2030 is not going to be accurate. Every year the Earth passes the torrid meteor showers in October and November, but in 2030, Graham Hancock says we will pass the same part of that stream that caused the cataclysmic comet strike 13,000 years ago. He says the debris stream of this comet is still on an orbit that crosses the orbit of the Earth. Astronomers believe that a 20-mile wide dark fragment of the original giant comet remains hidden in the debris stream, and it poses a clear and present danger to all life on Earth. End quote. Graham Hancock first wrote 20 years ago in Fingerprints of the Gods his theory that an ancient civilization, including the occupants of legendary Atlantis, were devastated by comet parts striking the planet nearly 13,000 years ago. His book was panned by scientists and pseudo-archaeology, but went on to sell 9 million copies, became a Sunday Times bestseller. Even his explanations on YouTube are fascinating. He's very knowledgeable concerning archaeology and the destructions that took place 13,000 years ago. And even recently we have, for example, in Japan and even outside of Egypt, we have antiquities showing, and even Brian Forrester in Peru, we have fantastic discoveries, archaeological discoveries of giant megalithic structures, even submerged under the sea, with technologies that people do not have to this present day. So yes, these ancient civilizations were very advanced as compared to us today. U.S. geologist Paul Henrik wrote at the time, quote, "Rather than stumbling upon an archaeological mystery, he has merely created one," end quote. But Graham Hancock claims the 500-page sequel published in 2015 provides a smoking gun scientific and archaeological evidence that he was right all along. So he's got evidence for this. The blurb of Magicians of the Gods says, quote, "Near the end of the last ice age, 12,800 years ago, a giant comet that had entered the solar system from deep space thousands of years earlier broke into multiple fragments. Some of these struck the Earth, causing a global cataclysm on a scale unseen since the extinction of the dinosaurs. At least 8 of the fragments hit the North American ice cap, while further fragments hit the Northern European ice cap. The evidence revealed in his book shows beyond reasonable doubt that an advanced civilization that flourished during the Ice Age was destroyed in this global cataclysm and other global cataclysms." End quote. He alleged that mankind was forced to start again as primitive human beings. Now a study by the University of Edinburgh School of Engineering has been published in the University of the Aegean's International Journal of Mediterranean Archaeology, appears to vindicate his claims of the comet strike 13,000 years ago that caused a mini ice age. So much of Graham Hancock's claims stem from evidence found during a dig at an ancient site in what is today Turkey, known as Göbekli Tepe, near the border with Syria. It's more than 2 times older than Stonehenge, but was much more skilled construction with astronomical carvings, which Graham Hancock says told of ancient comet strikes. Last week, the University of Edinburgh study said the carvings at Göbekli Tepe do show a comet strike in the year 10,950 BC. So there we go. That's new evidence that Graham Hancock's theory is correct. Dr. Martin Sweatman of Edinburgh University says one of the pillars of Göbekli Tepe seems to have served as a memorial to this devastating event, probably the worst day in history since the end of the Ice Age, end quote. Göbekli Tepe also has a series of animal carvings on the pillar known as the Vulture Stone. It was found to represent constellation of the stars, as they were thousands of years ago, as well as the comet itself. So Graham Hancock's book goes on to look at further risks from this comet trail, relying heavily on the research of comet experts Victor Klube and Bill Napier. He also says that astronomical message hidden in the ancient monuments, such as the Egyptian Sphinx and the Egyptian pyramids, warn that the comet's great return will occur in our time. Hancock wrote in his book, "It is possible, indexed highly probable, that we are not yet done with the comet that changed the face of the Earth between 12,800 to 11,600 years ago. The evidence is that it was several fragments on this scale that hit the Earth. Not just one, but many. It was a trail coming in, blasting all the time, all over the place. 12,800 years ago, causing the younger dryas that we crossed the debris stream of the comet again 11,600 years ago, with equally dramatic effects that ended the younger dryas, and finally that we can expect further encounters with the remaining fragments in our future. This unique complex of debris, wrote Klube and Napier, is undoubtedly the greatest collision hazard facing the Earth at the present time. Quote, it is predicted that in the near future, around the year 2030, the Earth will cross again that part of the torus that contains the fragments, an encounter that in the past has dramatically affected mankind. A collision with an object 30 kilometers in diameter would, at the very least, mean the end of civilization as we know it. Only 30 kilometers. It's the end of civilization as we know it, and perhaps even the end of all human life on this planet. The University of Edinburgh team did not look at Mr. Hancock's claim about a future strike, Magicians of the Gods. The Forgotten Wisdom of the Earth's Lost Civilization by Graham Hancock is published by Coronet, and it cost £20. Unbelievable, and now they've got evidence of it from archaeological digs and findings, one of them being recently Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. I'll leave links below for you for this on Express UK.